stunning. I'm probably everything that many of you like to hate. I used to work at NATO, at the RAND Corporation. I worked with the International Institute for Strategic Studies. I supported the war in Libya. The only thing that I did not do is work for President Sarkozy. This flyer said, implies that I was an advisor to Sarkozy. Yeah, I was not. In fact, actually, I advised both Sarkozy and Hollande, but from a non-partisan point of view, on defense policy. I've even been called a neocon. I do not think I am, but just to give you a little bit of background. It's not for me to say, I don't think it's for any foreigner to tell this country what it should do. So I'm not going to say Ireland should join NATO, but I'd like to play the role of an advocate indeed, and as someone who has a little bit of background in NATO affairs, I'd like to give you what I think are the good arguments in favor of NATO. So I'd like to play the role of the advocate, and as an advocate I would say Ireland should consider NATO membership for two reasons. One, because it would be a coherent decision, and the other because it would be a rational decision. First, I think it would be a coherent decision. Ireland was more or less a free rider during the Cold War. So, as the Americans would say, now it's payback time. It's time for you to acknowledge that you're a member of the Western community, and no institution embodies the Western community better than NATO. I could use the cheap shot of quoting Dante, who said that once that the hottest place in hell is reserved for those who are neutral. It's in the Inferno, I believe, but I'm not going to use this. But let's face it, Ireland has stretched the paradigm of neutrality to such extremes that I think that from an analytical standpoint, it really does not make much sense to me as an outside observer. You joined the Partnership for Peace in '99, you participated in the S4 and K4, you allowed for the use of your airspace after 9/11, participated in the Afghanistan operation indeed, you participated in the EU operation in Chad and Kosovo, you have ratified the Lisbon Treaty. Of course, there is the Irish clause in the Lisbon Treaty, but let's face it, the EU now, despite its difficulties, is much more than just an economic and political institution. It's a coherent group of nations which national interests in the EU are so much intertwined that it's very difficult to think of the vital interests of one EU member being at stake without the interests of all the EU members to be at stake. So, despite the Irish clause, I think that de facto there is such a community of interest within the EU that you are part of the EU also as a security alliance. Finally, Ireland has expertise, and others will probably speak about that, which will be very useful for NATO to learn from. Your excellent ordnance school, the UN training school, of course. Anyway, Ireland had things to offer to NATO. But second, there's another set of reasons, which is the following. I think from a cost and benefits standpoint for Ireland, it would be a rational decision to join NATO. First, the benefits. I think the benefits of joining NATO for Ireland would be significant. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree or disagree with NATO policies, NATO has become a very important actor in the post-Cold War world, and only by being in NATO would you get influence over these decisions. Many of you know that NATO decisions are made by consensus. That means that if one country does not agree, then NATO cannot do anything. There would also be, I believe, indirect benefits for Europe, for the EU, because it would mean the more EU countries are also members of NATO, the more the European voice in NATO counterbalancing the American voices would be more important. I think it would also be good for your relations with both the United States and other European countries. And who knows, what if Ireland was attacked one day? Not necessarily militarily attacked, but we live in a world where risks are not necessarily military. Think of cyber attacks, think of international terrorism. I think that you should consider the fact that something which is obvious to many of you here, but there's one thing which is clear in the NATO treaty, is that there should be automatic assistance, not necessarily military assistance, but at least automatic assistance whenever one of the members is attacked. Finally, NATO membership also provides for good technical assistance for the modernization of armed forces, and as long as you want to keep a well-trained armed forces, be it a force for good, for UN operations, etc. Paradoxically, I would even say that NATO membership, because of technical assistance, could even be better for your participation in UN operation. Conversely, I believe the costs for Ireland, the cost of NATO membership, would be limited. What would you give up? I'm really looking forward to this debate because I was wondering while I was preparing for the debate, what are the benefits of neutrality for Ireland today? I'm hard pressed to find any. Please enlighten me. As far as the financial costs are concerned, they would be minimal, probably about 0.5 to 1% of NATO budget. That would be probably 2-3% of your defense budget. That's a ballpark figure, as they say. As a general rule, don't forget that defense also tends to be cheaper in the longer run when you're in NATO, on the longer run, not immediately. There would, of course, be no obligation to participate in NATO military operation. As I said, the only obligation is automatic assistance when a member is attacked. For all these reasons, I believe that Ireland should at least seriously consider NATO membership. Thank you very much.